I know this is probably hearing from a defensive coach, hearing this from a defensive coach is probably crazy, but I want to give a special shout out to Ashton Hollins, right? Ashton Hollins was on the look team on Tuesday and Wednesday. All right, and so to see him go out and score a touchdown, I promise you there wasn't a more excited coach in that stadium than myself. Okay, because I think in this day and age now, right, the look squad, especially when a young man obviously want to get in a game, the look squad can be challenging sometimes, right? Because I think everybody believes they're a starter, and so to see him give a great look, and then obviously he was flipping back and forth between giving a look and going on the offensive side of the ball. To do what he did and the look that he gave, I mean, it was awesome. And then to see him go in the game and catch a touchdown, it was even that much more special. So I just want to give a shout out to him. Without further ado, I'll take any questions.
Tell us about the Indiana offense, in particular the quarterback Mendoza.
Like I told you guys a couple weeks ago, right? Like I think that I said about Darian Mensah. I think Mendoza is another one of those guys who I believe is going to play on Sunday. You know, he has a live arm. I've been watching this young man for a while back at Cal. I mean, he makes some throws. You're like, oh my goodness. I mean, his arm is as live can get. I mean, he has a nice, beautiful ball he throws, right? I think his downfield vision, like his progressions that he make when he's in a pocket, is absolutely incredible. I mean, I think this dude's an NFL quarterback, right? For a bunch of different reasons, but his ability to throw the ball is absolutely incredible. I think it also helps that he has some really, really good playmakers to throw the ball to, right? Elijah Surratt, I mean, I think that young man is, I mean, if he ain't I think he's one of the best receivers in the Big Ten, right? Going off of last year, coming into the season, I know he probably obviously wants more throws. I know they got Omar Cooper, I think Jr., who's also a very significant threat. I mean, you got Surratt and you got Cooper Jr. I mean, both those guys are as good as any tandem of receivers in the Big Ten. And so we got a tough challenge ahead of us, on top of having some really, they pride themselves on running the football, on top of having a really, really dynamic run game and a very, very impressive O-line. And so I think anytime you get into Big Ten play, I mean, this is what you're going to face from here on out. And so but we got a tall task. Again, I'm always trying to find creative ways to, how can we change up pictures? How can we get the things that we believe can be advantageous for us? But I tell you one thing, that they do a phenomenal job at running the ball. Obviously the O-line coach Bob Bostad, he was our O-line coach when I was back at Wisconsin with coaching. So Coach Bostad's a gritty dude. He gonna have them dudes ready to play, and so we got to make sure we do a really, really good job of making sure that we eliminate the explosives and try to do the best we can to stop the run, because the run game, it just opens up everything they do in the pass game with the RPOs and the down the field throws.
Coach, so there's third night game of 4. Is there anything about that changes anything you do?
No, no. The only thing is just we got to sit around longer.
Right.
I enjoy the night games. It gives Illinois a chance to be in the spotlight. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously for coaches, you like playing them earlier in the day just so you can spend time with your family. But just give you guys some hindsight, right? Like I told the players this on Wednesday, right? I told the players this on Wednesday because our word of the week last week was toughness, and I came home on Thursday because I wanted to stay in the office a little longer and get some things done. I came home on Thursday a little later than I told my wife. Okay, and when I got home, she said, "Have a seat." Right, we got to talk. Every man hates that conversation, right? Have a seat, we got to talk. All right, what she proceeded to tell me was, right, the girls haven't seen you. Your daughters haven't seen you all week, okay? And so we got to change up this Thursday routine. And that was a very, very tough conversation for me because I want to win ball games, but I also want to be a great dad and great husband, okay? And so I bring that up because this week is being selfless. Talking to our defense. The word of the week this week is being selfless. And I went on to talk to our guys about, sometimes people that care about you and love you, they got to have hard conversations with you. That was a hard conversation, all right? And at first I was, as men, we try to ignore things, but that she needed to say that, and taking that into consideration, obviously being able to spend more time with my babies. But that's the only thing that a night game does. It just limits me the ability to play a game early, get home, and spend time with them. You know what I mean? So that's probably the biggest thing, you know. But no, man, I think just overall, like I enjoy the night games because it puts us in the spotlight. It allows us to showcase some things, you know, just Illinois football and brand as a whole. But you know, at the end of the day, it's a football game. Play it when we play it, you know.
And you look at kind of the different pairings you've had in the secondary. Talk about Miles and Star, and just down the line. How much do you think you put on tape to maybe make opposing offenses give pause to what you're actually going to?
Yeah. I think that I think we put a lot of things on tape to try to get them to prepare for things, and maybe they see it, maybe they don't, you know. And so I do know this, right? And I told you guys this a couple weeks ago. Every game plan is going to be a tad bit different. You know, I mean, this team does a really, really good job at running the football, right? Well, it's going to be probably a little different than the Duke game plan, right? The Duke game plan, they love to throw the ball vertically. You know what I mean? And so, like, trying to slow down or eliminate what they're really, really good at, right, and just be able to play sound, fundamental football, and at the end of the day, trying to keep them out of the end zone is the most important thing to me, man. I just think that we got the players that are competent and capable enough to get the job done. And I think as coaches, we just got to put that into them, you know. And so I think the day and age of saying that you're this defense and you're running this, I think those days are long gone, right? These coaches, these coordinators are so smart. They're so intelligent, right? They address things up a certain way and do something completely different. And so you have to be really, really good at situational football. And more importantly, you have to be able to just try to change pictures as much as you can, right? Whether it's fronts, whether it's back end things, you just got to try to make it as hard as you can. For by the end of the day, you know, football boils down to running and tackling. You know, I was talking to our defense, you know, yesterday, and the thing that was more disappointing me than anything, we missed 10 tackles. Right? Anytime, again, I say this, and I try to say it and let you guys know. But anytime you get double-digit missed tackles, man, that's a recipe for a disaster. And when you get no takeaways, you know. And so, love the fact that we kept them off the scoreboard. But I want to keep them off the scoreboard. I want to be a really good tackling football team, and I want to take the ball away, you know. And so that's what we got to pride ourselves on, because I think when we're able to do that, I think you really start to see some things come alive.
Aaron, I was going to ask you about Indiana's run game, because I would imagine you look at what Bob does up front, and at least you, Coach B, and J-Mo kind of look at that and go, I know what that is, but
Yeah.
What's the dynamic between, okay, we can identify it, and now we got to go get it?
Yeah, you know, obviously Coach Bostad is with a completely different offensive staff, you know, but I mean, I think it's one thing identifying some of his other things, how to be able to stop it. You know, they got an incredible looking offensive line. Those guys play physical, right? You can tell they're well coached, you know, and what they do up front, right? And how they climb on the second level and how they double team guys. And so, again, like, I think at the end of the day, you know, obviously being a player, you know, I probably don't have as much insight as Coach B and Coach Jameson, just because they were on the coaching side of it. But man, I am really, really excited for this opportunity. I'm really, really excited to see Coach Bostad. I hope he remembers me, right? I hope he remembers me. But I think it's going to be a really, really great game and a phenomenal atmosphere.
Aaron, you talked about your defensive line depth. How has that changed things for you guys to have, you know, a second string you can go to and that many guys you can put on the field?
Yeah, that is. I really believe that's a secret sauce. You know, like, you can have whoever you want to have on the back end, right? When you can roll guys through and the level of play doesn't drop up front, I mean, I think you got something special, right? I think Coach James played like 8 or 9 guys on the D-line the other night, which was awesome, right? Funny enough, Angelo McCullum was one of our defensive MVPs, which, I mean, he played extremely well, you know. And so credit to Coach Jameson. You know, he does a really good job in trying to rotate those guys, keep them fresh. But we just got, like, I really believe what separates us from this year as opposed to previous years, you know, the difference between the ones and the guys that were behind them, right? There was a significant difference there. And I think now, right, again, I call these guys 1A and 1B. I don't think the drop off is as nearly as close as it has been in the past. Not to take none away from the guys who were behind them, but I just think that speaks to, right, the evaluation process in our recruiting staff. That speaks to how we hit the portal, right? Credit Coach B and how he sees things, right? Credit Coach Jameson and going out and getting those players, you know, and that allows me as a coordinator to do my job, right, and really put a lot on those guys up front, because I know I got a guy in Coach Jameson that understands what we're trying to get done.
What stood out to you about JoJo in the first 3 weeks, just moving back inside this year?
Yeah, I think JoJo he has a different gear. You know, he's so dynamic. You know, he's not always perfect, but he's so dynamic. He runs extremely well, right? Because he's been able to play on the edge, right? He rushes it was a very subtle play. You guys may not have seen it, right? But it was a pass rush that he ended up the quarterback ended up getting flushed out of the pocket. But to watch that clip, and although JoJo didn't sack the quarterback, but like for him to be able to be on the ball and off the ball in the box, I mean, he's just so diverse, man, in what we ask him to do. And I think, you know, JoJo, you start to see JoJo's like career come to fruition because JoJo's got a coach that believes in him. You know, I think with what Coach Archie's doing with that room and Coach Matt Ellerbrock is doing with that room, it's been absolutely incredible. I mean, those guys are like, they're coming up here salivating, like wanting more info, right? Because there's such a strong connection and such a strong relationship. You know, and I say we didn't have that in the past, but I'm just saying, like, I think when you get players who haven't played as much to start playing at a really high level, right? Well, their ability level hasn't changed, right? It's typically because there's a connection there that supersedes their skill set, right? And if I know as a player that you care for me beyond X's and O's, what I would do for you is like through the roof. You know what I mean? And so I think you're starting to see that, right? And then with more plays, the more plays that he plays, the better he's going to be, man. I'm really excited for JoJo this season, right? Moving forward with him, man. But I'm just excited for Malachi Hood, right? How about Grant Bierman? Right, his first snap was a pressure, right? Got to teach him to retrace and get off the block. But man, like, I'm really excited for that linebacker room as a whole, man. And I think they're going to be a really good group of guys.
You mentioned Grant Bierman, and
Just have time for one more here.
Coach Bielman said he's one of the best linebackers that he's ever recruited, any place that he's been. So what did you see in that first game for him, see in action, and what's kind of the ceiling for him?
You know, it's funny enough, the night before the game, I specifically asked Grant, what's your favorite call? You know, like, you get in a game, what is the call you love? And he looks at me and says, any one of them. Like, confident can be, you know? And like, as a coordinator, I'm like, dang, this dude got a little something to him, you know? But what I saw Friday night, I think is just the tip of the iceberg for that young man. Obviously, right, Coach can speak to it because he's recruited some really good linebackers, but he's long, he's athletic, he runs like a deer, and he will hit you, you know? And that young man being in a room with Dylan Rosiak, Kaneno Odeluga, Malachi Hood, JoJo Hayden, right, Krutz, like, all of them are a little bit different, you know? And he's just a sponge to everything that's being taught in that room. He's a sponge to his teammates, and to see him get out there and flash and do some things, it was really exciting to see, you know. And obviously his future is as bright as can be.
Okay, thank you, Coach.
Appreciate you guys, man.